Broadcasting live from Sub Basement 27 Studios in the heart of the hypercore of Hypercube Laboratories in Orlando, Florida. This is time for the show. Your weekly Hypercubist radio firmware update brought to you by the one and only grateful, happy, cheerful, sexy, smooth-chested, adequately buttocked me, Dr. Fox. And joining me via Hypercom, which you can join too by going to timefortheshow.com, clicking the Discord button, it's Reverend Peas. Say hi, Peas.
Salutations and hello.
You gonna make it? You sound like you're already overwhelmed with just the sheer intensity that we're gonna have with tonight's show. It's
the lag on my picture, but it's all right. Hold on, I gotta shut the pylon door. Just a second.
Okay, you go do that thing that you should have done 20 minutes ago, and we'll wait here.
20 minutes ago.
Here we go. All right.
So it's good now. I'm back on the show after a momentary relapse.
We missed you during that time.
mundaneness.
Did you spend that time doing anything productive? Did you take time for did you get some me time in? Did you meditate? Did you do any soul searching? Any script development?
I was able to shut the pylon door. Now, amazingly enough, on YouTube, you're only seeing me get up to shut the pylon door now. But if you are listening to me, I don't know how it's working out, but you'll see that the picture is much delayed. So, but if you've taken
that's how streaming works, Peas. It's so nobody can snipe you.
Fine.
It's so nobody can snipe you. You don't want to get sniped. They're going to be running in circles, Peas.
Right,
they're going to be running in circles, and they're still going to be getting headshots, Peas. Come on. It's for your protection, the delay, and the bugs.
Well, it's an exciting time. That's all I know. Hey, now here's the thing.
It should be
There's
exciting.
So much going on this week in this news.
What? Don't get distracted by the stream, Peas. The show's over here, Peas. Man, I haven't said that in a while. The show's over here, Peas. And Peas is disconnected forever. We'll never see him again. Oh, hello, Peas. Welcome back.
I'm right. I just, I like to look at myself on the YouTube, so I'm so handsome, and so it's just distracting when what I'm really doing isn't
just
taking
hot
place on
glue
YouTube, so
a mirror to your glasses. You see, this is why Elvis Martini says that we're not funny, or that we're not as funny as we used to be. We're not trying hard enough anymore. And he's a comedy master, Peas. He knows what funny is. He's been able to prove it at least once.
He's self-admittedly down in the dumps right now, though.
Yeah.
So his ability to perceive what is or isn't funny is a little bit askew. And I think he'd be the first to admit that. Because he knows as well as I do, this is some funny times that we got going on. There has been
hilarious,
so much that's happened in the last week.
Busting.
We don't even have... we have 1 hour to try to tell you what's happened in the last week. I don't think we could do it in 100 hours, but we're going to try. And you know why we're going to try? Because it's time for the show's time to try.
Well, that means it's time for my favorite part of the show. Recapping last week's Is It a Band that I never did. What was the band name from last week that we didn't answer? Our executive producer, Aster6, is going to look that up. This week's Is It a Band is Puffin Rock. That's Puffin space ROCK. Puffin Rock. Is it a band? Do you think it's a band, Peas?
I feel like there's some Wookiees out there that thought that was funny, and I'm going to say there is a Puffin Rock out there.
All right, well, we'll see what happens.
It could be a Queen cover band too if it's from England. You don't know. There's a lot of different things with the word puffin.
All right, Aster 6 is readying the microphone. The boom is being adjusted. I wish you could see this.
Oh my god.
Technical master.
Yeah, I don't know how to work a microphone. Okay.
No, you did. I was totally
what
giving you the credit. You knew what you were doing.
What
I
what
assume
did
I
we
know what
do?
I'm doing.
What did we do for production like this before we had Aster 6? It's just amazing the increase in professionalism that the show has started to exude since you have taken over the production duties. My hat's off to you, Aster 6.
Well,
My
thank you,
hat
Peas.
and my admiration is all directed at you.
So what was last week's band name?
So last week's band name was Evil in Law.
Evil in Law.
Oh yeah.
What
that
did
was
you?
a band.
That was? You think that was? That sounds like one
was-
to me.
that was-
What was
That
it?
sounds like a band to me.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, Evil in Law is not a band.
We fucked it up, Peas. We're never gonna make
You know
it
what?
now.
Do you
We
know what
might as
pisses
well
me off
never
the most?
try again.
People had a whole week to make a band, okay? They knew we didn't answer the band, and if somebody had been clever out there, it had a week's worth of time
That's
to make
true.
a fucking band
That's
and
true.
fool us, and you guys fucking blew it. You know what? You don't even try to be listeners.
This
I don't
show is a
understand it.
silver platter to the listeners. You know, I can't.
Fuck.
Sometimes I'm just disgusted with them too, and the rest. So we'll come back to this week's Is It a Band after the break tonight. Don't forget that all that pre-show music that you heard is available on the album Dobbs.Town by Reverend Negative and the members of Dobbs.Town. And you can pick that up at music.packslack.com. That's right, packslack.com, a website that you can buy things from. Eccentric
It's
novelties and gewgaws delivered straight to your door. It's not drop shipping, it's more like ship dropping. So head on over to packslack.com, get your album today. Peas, you have a big bag of drugs there, I see. Did you want to tell the
No,
kids
it's
about your
not.
bag of
It's
drugs?
medicinal herbs.
Like herb
No, not yet.
scannels?
We're waiting to have. I want all my ducks in a
Scannell?
row before I hit the scene at packslack.com. Because when I hit the scene at packslack.com, that scene's gonna explode with the force of a Hiroshima bomb.
I don't
Well,
think
just
we
an
can
atom
say
bomb.
that anymore.
Maybe a test bomb in the desert that didn't hurt anybody. I'm sorry about that, Japan. I didn't mean to say it.
That was our fault,
I-
Japan. Totally props to
I'm
you.
old. I'm old and I watch too many Hogan's Heroes, but regardless,
It's a different time.
It's a different time. It's a different time.
It sure is a different time. Time is fun to tell. So, what did you do last week, Peas?
Well, first of all, I hunkered down for a while in the middle of the week because I was really concerned that 1,500 to 3,000 idiots that stormed the Capitol were probably going to keep me from getting my
Heroes,
$2,000
Peas.
stimulus.
Heroes.
Yeah, that my No, dude, they're preventing me from getting my $2,000 stimulus that Joe Biden said he'd have all ready to go on January 21st. So I don't appreciate fucking shaman.
$600 isn't
Air
enough for
Force
you?
Colonel. No, it's not enough for me, dude. I spent that trying to get my weed license for Nevada today, and the bureaucracy of trying. I had to take an Ativan. I got so stressed out trying to fill out these forms. They used to do it with the taxation board, but they recently changed to a different board. And the thing about it is, the taxation board still has the old forms on there. So I went down to the fingerprint and get your picture taken place with the whole wrong thing filled
They
out.
don't want
Then I had to go run home. Now they got a cannabis board. It's a big racket. It's a big racket.
I've got
but
a
it's
cannabis
nothing
board,
like
too.
Now,
It's a big one.
Now, Fox, I like to think that you and I have been in a scrap or two. We've been in some precarious situations.
You would, but
where
and that's
maybe
why
the
you
crowd-
shouldn't. Don't think. You should. Don't think. That's why.
Where-
That's why.
I, now, now where maybe the crowd is going to turn against you. And I like to think that even though we are revolutionaries in thought, mind, philosophy, and religion, that we would know better than to storm the steps of the Capitol,
Yeah.
and burst our way in there,
Well, maybe.
and then take physical pictures of ourselves pissing on the things and taking the speaker's I just think that these are guys that are not well.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting enough that the revolution was televised?
It was. Now I
It was
the first one
live
to make that
streamed.
joke, and I'd like credit for it, and I was disappointed about
I
it.
watched it. I jumped on my computer and I had like all the windows open here at the Hypercore, and I had I was watching from every angle as I could. It was those people those people have beliefs, Peas, unshakable
Well, here's the thing.
beliefs, and they're
super
trying to protect
disappointed.
themselves from tyranny.
Well, I was super disappointed when Twitter and Facebook banned Trump's tweets and shit, because I'm like, how am I going to get my entertainment? But then I noticed about every 15 or 20 minutes, one of these idiots that rush the Capitol is getting arrested back in Arizona or in Florida or Tennessee. And so they've replaced my Trump tweets as my entertainment of the day. And,
It is.
I
It's
just
truly.
wait-
It's like it's. We used to like have the subgenius of the day, and I definitely think we've got like several weeks worth of subgenius of the day with this one.
Yeah.
With somebody posted earlier that the no fly pulls are like the new cat videos. It's they're a lot of fun.
I like the one guy they can't find yet is the guy who walked the Confederate flag through the Capitol. They don't know where he's at. They're looking for him real hard, because even in the Civil War, with a battle being fought outside D.C. where the actual gunshots and cannon fire could be heard from the Capitol, the folks who thought it was going to be a rollout all went out from D.C. to watch the battle like it was a fairground. When the Confederates turned the tide, you saw all these carriages rushing back to D.C., and it was only by the grace of God that the Union forces were able to stop them at the river. But the Confederates almost overran it in one of the first days of the war. And but yet, with all of that, a Confederate flag has never been draped, brought into, or even acknowledged on the floor of the Capitol building. And some fucking idiot decides, yep, that's how he's going to express his freedom in the revolution, by bringing a 125, 30-year-old icon of the bastion of slavery to the. It says something even the Confederacy shouldn't do. So I don't know if she'd be applauded because a whole country couldn't do that during an active war, just because, wow, good job, dude. Or if he should be,
He's set the
whole
he's setting the
Confederacy
bar.
couldn't do
He's
that.
setting the bar.
he's
You
setting
know?
the bar.
And so
I have
really,
mixed
so if you
feelings
want to
about
make it
him.
more poignant, don't bring another one in for at least another 130 years, right? Make it count. Make it count.
Yeah,
it was.
I think this guy's hold up somewhere going. Well, who won now, bitches?
Well, I think I made a call on Dr. Fox's chopping block a few weeks ago that as soon as one of my predictions is that we're going to have a big lockdown coming. We've got Superbug 3 rolling through, and I have a feeling that our new commander-in-chief and a lot of the people in our Congress are more than likely going to support a bigger lockdown effort than we had on the previous one. Already I'm seeing people hoard at the grocery stores again. So, and I still have to go to the grocery
me
store
too.
because I don't have $100 and 4 hours a day to work with Instacart. So far, I cannot advocate Instacart at
seeing it
this
too.
point. But someone's going to go outside. Someone's going to go outside, and when a white kid gets shot by the police, a lot of these Blue Lives Matter people are going to go back to like the old school, like how I was raised, where the police are just part of the big government conspiracy tentacle that are going to that. And I mean that's That's why they're stockpiling guns, is, they're going to get dragged out. Can you imagine what's going to happen when they open the first FEMA camp for COVID relief? It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare. This is nothing. My guess is that Trump leaked that phone call, because they're really, as much as he's pressuring them, and on his way out, what was perfect about that phone call was that he's calling out, these states, and the people in these states are doing their job to protect voter identity. And because they're doing that, and they're allowed to keep these things in, because they're not showing anything, that makes them guilty. And that's in the phone call. And it's interesting that phone call was made in the time frame that it was, and it was brought out. And so it really did draw a line. He's saying that if they're not supporting me, they're part of this large conspiracy to get me out. And so,
this is it.
So one of them has to be right. One of them has to be right. Either there is a conspiracy running from a local city level to a county level, with a board of elections and a supervisors of elections, through all of this legislation up to the state, throughout the state, on multiple states, into the federal government, and
super unlikely.
Or he's making it up. And the people that and
more likely.
So it's one or the other. It has to be one or the other. How does it run? And there's already a lot of people tons of people already believe that conspiracy exists. In fact, I know people that genuinely believe that the election was stolen and it was cheated. I know people who believe that.
Tons of people believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead after being crucified by the Romans.
But Jesus isn't calling people to go out into the streets and raise hell. Jesus was, be nice.
No, Jesus is. Jesus is. Maybe not real Jesus, but
the fighting Jesus. The fighting Jesus. Not this weak pacifist just passing the buck.
I think it's important to note. A couple of things about this without falling into the whole media aspect of this. But here's the thing: this was about 1,500 to 3,000 people. They were actually spurred on for months, and let's say they are 1%. Or 2% of the total people that totally believe the election was stolen. That still only gives you like 100,000 people, 200,000 people in a population of 330 million that are vehemently adamant that this election was stolen. Even though all evidence, and there would have to be 1 million fucking people involved, it would have to be the biggest conspiracy that it's ever been pulled off since the moon landing. And the moon landing conspiracy never took place. It's so complex, and it would be so difficult to pull off in a nation this size, the way it's derived and stuff. This is literally the aspect of somebody.
Yeah, when you realize like how long it takes to get a pothole filled or a social security card in the mail. And we're talking about, and this is the system, because that's not what they're focused on.
Fucking cabal of people are suppressing your fucking vote. And not only that, the system, the law and order system that they all purport to be loving, and the blue line and all that shit, well, they've taken it to that channel. And even those guys have said, you guys are batshit crazy. Nothing has happened. Nobody has stolen anything.
They're in on it because they've been paid off. They've been paid off by the communists.
But there can't be that many people paid off to it. The biggest problem that we have right now is that we allow people, and there's nothing we can do about it, but this is the first president that we've had in my lifetime that didn't act presidential. Richard Nixon acted presidential.
He did.
He did. in the end, Richard Nixon said, "I'm going to resign rather than tarnish the image of the presidency." And Richard Nixon had done a lot of good things. Every president, except you have to go back 200 years to find another president who won't at least acknowledge the peaceful transfer of power. And we all knew this was coming. You know, they basically, if you read the clips, and you can say, oh, the media does this and that, but listen, it's a video. It's his words. March down on the Capitol right now. Let them know the election was robbed. Right after Giuliani says, let's do this trial by combat. What the fuck do you think if you tell 3,000 crazy fuckers that flew all across the country that are standing there in the cold of fucking DC? What do you think? That they're already crazy. They already got on a fucking plane.
And now they're riled up. They're already
riled them up.
We're talking about people that are falling for a 4chan prank, right? That there's
here's the other.
There's
bad
14-year-olds manipulating swaths of people.
I saw clippings or show. I was watching this pretty extensively, where the protesters started to take down the barricades, and the cops backed up, and they let them take those barricades down. And then today I read that 2 cops were immediately suspended, and there's 15 other Capitol policemen that are under investigation for being complicit in this. Now, in the foreign press, what you'll find is the foreign press looks at this as an attempted coup by Donald Trump, and that they also have said Capitol Police must have been complicit in this. And the outcome was to be that these 3,000, 2,000, 1,500 people would have occupied the Capitol and caused some kind of snafu to delay what is basically a ritual. Like,
well, they're calling it a coup here. It's not just every news network has said coup. Maybe, I don't know if Fox News has said it.
Here's what I don't get. When I'm watching 24 and fucking Jack Bauer's on the job, they changed the president 4 times in like 6 hours. They're whipping out the 25th. They got impeached. Bang. This shit takes like 35 minutes, 24 hours, You've only got an hour per episode. You start with one president, at the end of the hour, you got a new one. Shit's going on. Why is Jack Bauer not on the case? Fucking make it. You want this 7 more days? Who knows what the fuck he'll decide to do next? There's a good chance, I've heard too, he'll pardon everybody that they identified there just as a test of the presidential pardon, that they were patriots and weren't doing anything wrong.
Oh, yeah, I'd totally believe that. That makes sense. That totally makes sense. It makes me worry about Inauguration Day.
Now it's funny, the guy with the cow horns, he just appeared in court and he complained and said he's on a hunger strike because he's not being provided organic food in jail.
Wow, what a snowflake.
Yeah. Now this is your dude, man. This is your Viking ruin. Now I had another guy who blocked me this week because he said that outfit was cultural appropriation. And he knew that because he was an American Indian. So I asked him to show me a picture of another American Indian wearing cargo pants, a Flintstones hat with raccoon tails, and then he said, "Well, he's wearing
his
blackface.
water
Is
buffalo
that
hat."
cool?" I said, "No." Yeah, I said, "No, that's red, white, and blue face." I said, "Nobody in the nations has any outfit even remotely fucking looking like this." And I said, "You should be ashamed for playing the American Indian card on such a weak fucking thing." And then he blocked me.
It's okay.
So I call that a
They'll
win.
get you at the casinos,
I call
Pease.
that a win. I'll call that a win. But exciting time. I think it's time for us to go to a song break with one of our independent artists that we're allowed to play on YouTube.
I think so.
And reflect upon whether we should have that band name. What are the crowd? What are the kids? What are the Patreons in the Discord and the YouTube chat think that is or is not a band name? Then we'll come back and we'll tease them with some more awesome some of the best.
So what are
some
we?
of the
So
most
what are we
poignant
doing then?
Time for the show.
Yeah, that's what this definitely is. All right. Well, here's more of Dobbs.town available at packslack.com, and here's Bob. Broadcasting live from Hypercube Studios, this is your pal, Dr. Fox, reminding you that the end is here, and you can prolong your inevitable death just a little bit longer by washing your filthy, disgusting hands with Triology Soaps! Handmade by Lord Ferg, the madman behind the blade at Triology Soaps, a fantastic group of products. Again, I'd like to show, these are quick and easy bars for hand washing. The Nothing bars, your choice of pure glycerin bars, goat milk bars with loofahs embedded into them. And these guys, these are over 5 ounces of soap. You know, they're built on packslack.com. It's like 4.5 ounces. But Ferg packs them tight. They're like really 5 ounces of soap. And one of these bars with regular hand washing can go up to like 2 weeks. This is a goat's milk bar available at a local grocery store. At the price that they're selling, this is $7.50 worth of soap. This is $5. With the loofah, it's $5.50. And look, you're getting like twice as much soap than you can get at the grocery store, and we'll mail it to you. And it comes in a variety of fun shapes and colors, featuring the visage of everybody's favorite J.R. Bob Dobbs, Pope and Slackmaster of the Church of the Subgenius, the only Subgenius licensed soaps available. Head on over to packslack.com and get your Triology soaps today. We're broadcasting live on freethinkradio.com. You can join us in the chat by going to freethinkradio.com, click the time for the show button, and that'll bring you to the real-time chat. And subscribe to the show, timefortheshow.com. You could also be watching on youtube.com/freethinkradio. And if you're watching, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button now. If you hit the subscribe button now, actually, your name will cover Pease's face. And it's actually been optimized on every camera setup here. So anytime you subscribe, you can block out Pease. And that is an exclusive feature at freethinkradio.com and youtube.com/freethinkradio. All right, we're doing this. We're I don't know. You might have to go check in the. So how was your week, Pease?
Well, after the revolution,
Which was televised.
I got some sushi. Yep, I got some sushi. And then I made some posts, and that was pretty much it for the week for me. I was on call, so I could go camping in the desert and look for pylons. But what about you, Dr. Fox? What kind of weekend did you have? What kind of week did you have? What'd you...
I had a long weekend. I had a long and interesting weekend.
Do you want to talk about it?
I do want to talk about it because there's some interesting and I think it's going to be fun to talk about. And I think there are some things here that are important to talk about. And so far I enjoyed the first half of the show. It wasn't very funny, but I think it was fun. Before we left, we teased the band Puffin Rock, PUFFINROCK. And Pease, what did you say?
I think it's like a pipe for Wookiees, like Stone Soup, and that's how they fool people into getting them to smoke their drugs with them. So I think, yeah, there probably is a band called that, or at least a song.
You know what? And I have to double check because let's see here, Puffin Rock band, because because Aster 6 is getting the flutes. We're gonna play the.
Well, fortunately not. I don't know where. Oh, there they are.
Yes. So Puffin Rock is not a band, but it is a children's television show. So ask your kids if they're down with Puffin Rock, which they can catch on some TV channel. Netflix. And yeah, it's an Icelandic kids show. And Aster 6 actually mentioned earlier, oh yeah, Puffin Rock, I like that. And I was like, yeah, you do? And then it was like, no, it's a show about tiny, like, puffin birds that live on a rock. Okay, so I am totally popping this champagne here. We got here, into the microphone. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so last Wednesday, now I feel bad because now I gotta pee. This is the fun part. Like, I should have done that during the song break. So you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do one more song, and I'm gonna pour this champagne. When we come back, I'm gonna tell you about last Thursday. You're listening to Time for the Show. Drip slowly and repent. Oh no, we did that one. Let's do this one.
Yo, I'm screaming praise God until the day I die. When I die aboard the saucers into space, I will fly on my way to sub-genius, having a sub-genius hell. Which one is better, man? Cause I can hardly tell. Fuck the conspiracy and give me back my slack. If you think your money's green, $35, it's not a trap. I'm chilling in Dobbstown, smoking on some froth. Fuck them if they can't take a joke, now let the beat drop.
left with just you and me and some mutant tea. Pink boy, bland normal, or is it true? You're not. You're one of us, one of the mutants. With just a little nudge from this mutant tea, you will become a subgenius. One of the chosen mutants. Chosen mutants. Supreme mutants. Superior mutants. The highest. Most high of all. The best of the best.
And we're back. Ah, so patient. You, I commend you. You don't get enough credit. There are times where people say things about you, and I'm like, I know what you're talking about. You know, I totally get it. But then there are times where you're so gosh darn handsome. Peas, you look like you've got like somebody in a rascal scooter parked on your foot and you're waiting for them to roll off of it. You look very anxious, Peas.
No, I'm good.
Are you?
Well, you know, I'm fine.
That's good, Peas.
That's
We're
good.
glad to hear that.
Yeah, so handsome. My favorite. I sure did.
I like.
You know, sometimes you get time. You know, as a person that has developed, as the person who has developed and is now in like a patenting process for hypercubism, don't think. I believe we're ready to tell you that it's been scientifically tested and approved. And hypercubism will change and save your life. We've made contact.
Probably.
We've made contact. We are able to use the sub-ether network to communicate with other realities. There are things coming you are
all
not
true.
going to believe. This is 100% true.
It's all true.
And it's through extreme experimentation and research.
Correct. You couldn't do it without experimentation and research. So you know right off the bat, if we tell you that we've done research and experimentation, you know it's a real and honest thing. Because we wouldn't do research and experimentation and then provide you with results that weren't the results of that research and experimentation, of which we are now releasing to you all the results of our research and experimentation that proves that not thinking is the thing to do, and that building pylons is the thing to do.
Obviously,
and not buying
2020 was the year of the pylon.
More than $4.99 are the things to do, and to eat your parents is the thing to do.
You eat your parents yet, Peas?
Because no, here's the thing. One of mine's dead, but I do have some of his ashes. I made some tea and drank it, but I'm not sure if it counts.
Does that make you a cannibal? If you ingest human remains, are you a cannibal?
Well, Keith Richards did it, so I think it's okay for me. But here's the thing. I don't think that if you really think about what does eat your parents mean, what eat your parents mean doesn't mean to physically eat your parents. Of course, that would be a crime, and you couldn't practice cubism after that because you'd be in jail.
Hypercubism.
What it really means, hypercubism, what it really means, what it really means is that everything that they've taught you that you've thought about is wrong. And if you didn't think, you wouldn't remember those things. So by not thinking, you transition into eating your parents, because you're eating your parents' values. Psychologically, you're taking those values and throwing them away. They aren't the values for you because you now don't think. You build pylons. You don't pay more than $5 for sunglasses.
Amen.
And by doing those three things, you've eaten the values your parents had. So you accomplish step 2 by doing steps 3 and 4. And that's a mystery that a lot of initiates don't understand. So I thought it was important that I explain it tonight on the show.
That's good. You did a good job of that, Peas. I'm very pleased with that. That was a good summary of a deep philosophy concocted by some idiot. All right. Oh, man. Don't think works.
I like to laugh.
It works. I like to laugh too, Peas. I like to laugh a lot. And sometimes when I'm laughing, I use that to cover a deep, throbbing pain. Because somewhere in my brain, through years of conspiracy conditioning,
Goddamn conspiracy.
I am...
Those fuckers.
It's not that I am driven, but constantly plagued by irritating thoughts. And all my life, the best advice I ever got was, well, try not to think about it. Yeah. So it's easy to see. But these problems are something, I think I've talked about that before, at least in a chat room. But I don't know how many people are familiar. But Dr. Fox thinks about things in a different way. That's why he tries not to think. He does more than try.
How much do the chat rooms cost a minute?
Well, again, we're pushing premiums on this site. Right now at patreon.com/hypercube, you can get your chat benefits, like access to the Scabs VIP channel for like $4 a month. That's nothing. That's one trip to Starbucks a month. Can you sacrifice Can you sacrifice one cup of coffee a month and donate $4 to patreon.com/hypercube? Because I got work to do. I have things to do. I have T-shirts to make, and I didn't get to work on T-shirts over the past couple of days, Peas. So I've been a little frustrated. I was a little frustrated before, and then I got a little more frustrated.
What?
And
tell us about it.
Well, I encountered something that I guess what's it called? Parenthood. I encountered parenthood last Thursday when I went to pick something up that my kid dropped. And I bent over to pick it up, and while I had bent over, I sneezed. And I sneezed so goddamn hard that my back locked up. And I couldn't move. And so I had to call my wife to come home early from work and help maneuver me around the house. So I was using heating pads. I was I took some Motrin and tried to take a nap, but nothing was doing it. Exercising, I was getting up, I was stretching, trying to walk, ambulatory motion. Everything hurt. So we decided to go to the emergency room. We go to the emergency room.
Oh my God!
It is now.
Why would you do that?
It is COVID-19. It is.
Do you not know a shaman?
I know a shaman, but he doesn't accept Medicaid.
Okay, understandable.
And in these times, Dr. Fox's funds are a bit on the tight end. So I go to the emergency room, and they end up giving me a Valium. Now, first off, I was in the emergency room for hours. We got there at 8 o'clock.
Lucky.
I was checked through triology. I was checked through triage within the first 30 or 45 minutes. The rest was just waiting there. The place was filled with sick people. So they put me in a hallway around the corner.
That's reassuring, isn't it? They did that to me when my foot was broken. They put you right in the hallway. So all the sick people can go by and get you sick.
So, well, they weren't going that way. That was a nice thing. There was no reason to go that hallway. There was nothing down there. I was past the vending machines. So anybody that wanted a bag of Fritos, remember to watch your cholesterol. But here's Monster energy drinks and Lay's potato chips over here. And I was at 12:30. I got in, and I got checked out, and they said you're having an extreme muscle spasm, and they gave me a couple of pills, and I got a Valium. And I was asking about it because I was like, I'm not really familiar with it. I don't think I've ever taken it. What is this going to do? She explained through it. And while we were there, I started talking to her about, I've been trying to get in and out with the psychiatry department here because I can talk about it now because it's settled. I was working at a restaurant to keep the Hypercube bills going and to get ready for the Hyper Babby. So I was working at a restaurant, and I was, oh man, I should pull up the pictures, but I'll do that later. I was cleaning a deep fryer. I was actually refilling the deep fryer, and using this shoddy piece of bullshit equipment. And
I remember that.
The fucking
terrible
thing
accident.
Blew a huge bubble of air or water. Something happened, and the oil in the fryer just popped. It exploded, and it knocked me back off. And had I not been wearing my hat and my glasses, it would have been a lot worse. I could have been blinded. I was burned all over my face and my neck and my arms. I had second-degree burns. I was admitted to a burn ward, and I was going there for about 6 months. They were telling me I had to wear this goddamn Amish hat, and there's pictures of me with my newborn kid, and my face looks like fucking Freddy Krueger. And after this,
it was a good hat.
The hat really helped that look. So,
it framed your face. I thought the hat was nice. I liked it.
It was. That was a very tough time. I got another job somewhere else. It was actually one of the greatest jobs, if not the greatest job I've ever had. And I don't work there anymore because the governor shut everything down and still doesn't think I deserve a fucking paycheck. So,
that guy seems mean.
He's such a great guy. He's a handsome boy. Now,
wait a minute. That's what you say about the peas. I know that handsome means something bad.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't. Don't get worked
So what
up over it.
happened?
Well,
They gave you the
I start
Valium?
talking. Well, I take this Valium and a couple of other things, and I start talking to the
Made you
doctor.
chatty, huh?
And I got a little chatty, and I was talking about, I've been trying to get into the psychiatry ward. It was through workers' comp, and I was having nightmares. I was having nightmares of falling into deep fryers and the people that I worked with, like, throwing pots of oil on me. So I was having post-traumatic stress.
Stress, yeah, that's what they call it.
And for a while, these things bother me and bother me and bother me until I eventually get to the point that I hear, and I don't hear it. So I have to be very clear about this. I don't hear it, but the idea comes through of like, well, if you weren't alive anymore, you wouldn't have to ever think about this stuff again. And the doctor tells me that asked me if I'd like to talk to a psychiatrist. I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'm here. Let me talk to a psychiatrist. And they're like, well, do you have a plan? I'm like, no, I don't have a plan. I'm not going to do anything, but I'm depressed that I always think about this stuff. That's what's depressing me.
Listen, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did things go poorly for you after that?
I would say things went poorly for me after that. So I was taken I was wheeled from my comfortable little bed where I was being treated for a severe back injury. Nice. And I was taken to a room with a plastic box with a mat on it. And I noticed that on my side of the door, there wasn't a latch.
It's a quiet room.
They tell me to take off everything, even my underwear. I get the little non-slip grippy socks, and I'm in like a pair of paper underwear and a gown.
Sweet.
And
sexy.
They give everything to my wife, and we get the idea that you can bring his clothes back in the morning when you can come get him in the morning. And so she goes, and now I'm doped up, and I go to sleep.
So, hey, let me ask you something. Is the premise that you'll be better in the morning?
Well, let's see what happens. A few hours pass.
All right.
So I've been in pain since
I
was injured at 11:20 a.m. I
forgot about the back pain.
And now it is 4 a.m. the next day. It is 4 a.m. Friday.
And the Valium's wearing off.
And they roll in a robot. And this robot has a video screen and a prison phone. And I speak to a guy who I'm pretty sure, he sounds a lot like a guy who wanted to tell me about my car's extended warranty. And he was asking me a bunch of questions. And to be honest, I don't remember a lot of what I told him. Because I'm not in the best state of mind. But I told him enough. Okay, go ahead.
I got to stop you something because I have some experience with this. So you're telling me that rather than have a human being go into that room and sit down with you and do an intake and talk to you about how you were feeling and maybe make you count backwards from 100 with sevens, ask you what the last 5 presidents were, do like a little mental health, there's a couple little tests you do an intake. They sent a fucking robot in to do that when you're technically in a psychiatric setting.
I'm in a lockdown. I am in a lockdown.
They're fucking ridiculous. Man.
So
it's fucking ridiculous.
After I talk to him, about another hour or two goes by. So I'm on this
the robot.
And now I get somebody else, and I get a nice lady doctor, a human being, but somebody who doesn't sound like English is their first language, and
Indian
and Asian. Maybe I'm not sure where from.
Okay.
I was on drugs, you see. I was on drugs and I was in pain and I was very tired. And I gave enough of the answers to describing and telling them, look, I don't want to kill myself. I don't have a plan. I don't own weapons. But I get thoughts that say if I just do it, then I don't have to deal with it. I'm trying to find a way that I can get past that. Like, what can help me stop with this? This is it's plagued me for a while.
See,
and I know I told them at least that much, but that was enough. And in the state of Florida, I was Baker acted, and I was declared a danger to myself or others. So I was kept in. Now they were nice enough; they could tell that I wasn't a threat. They left my door open throughout the night. I asked them to close it at one point, but throughout the evening, they were bringing people in and out. So they bring a guy in who's obviously going to go to jail after this. He's on drugs. He's whistling at all the girls. He's jumping up on his bed and demanding his chocolate pudding. And then there's the guy next to me just trying to get out. He's just trying to get out. And then another guy's just trying to get out. And they bring in, security, and they're like, you can't go. You cannot go. You have not been discharged. You cannot go. So you have, your rights have been suspended. You can't go. And I'm like, I'm not going to be, they're not going to let me go. And then they say that they're going to they're going to take me to another hospital. They're waiting for a bed to open at another hospital, and then I'll be able to go there and talk to a psychiatrist. But I don't really understand exactly what's going on. But around 9 o'clock in the morning, I call my wife and say, hey, they're going to take me to another hospital to talk to a psychiatrist, and I guess you can just come pick me up there. And that's what they say. She'll pick you up there.
Let me ask you another question. At this point in time, do you really still feel like talking to a psychiatrist?
Well, here's what happened. At the time, I was like, well, if it means that I can talk to a doctor, let's go. What's going on? I'm going to another hospital and waiting for a bed. Sounds like okay, something. Maybe it's a room with a guy. I don't know, but whatever. Let's go. And I'm there until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the ambulance comes and they load me up and they take me in and they're like, yeah, we're going to this hospital. And you're going to go to the psychiatric ward. And I ask on the way there, I said, hold on now. They give me a recap, and so I've been Baker acted. And so the hospital can hold me up to 72 hours.
Correct.
With that, everything I've got is pretty much, on the grounds of cooperating with the hospital, phone calls and things like that. They take me to the hospital, and that's when I realize that I'm in the bin. I'm totally in deep. I'm way further than I was expecting. And something that I realize is completely unwarranted from the beginning, for my case, at least. So now I have to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
I come in, they're finishing up lunch.
I would agree.
We're finishing up lunch. They offer me something to eat, and I'm like, I had a big breakfast earlier. They were feeding me. They were feeding me regularly, and like whole meals. Then they're like, well, it's quiet time. So I've been sleeping off and on for, like the past 8 hours, 11 hours, not really. So about 2 or 3 hours of sleep. And they take me in and I go to my room. And it is blank, it is empty. There's not a picture on the wall. There's nothing, there's not a flange on the toilet. There's a button that flushes in small bursts. But there is a bathroom in the room. But there is also another person in the room, and he seems all right enough. It's obvious he's staying in there, but he's telling me about how the guy that stayed in there before him was scared of the dark and needed the light on. And I said, "Oh, that's fine. I need it pitch black to sleep, so I'm fine with that." And we shook hands and just chilled out. And then I sat on my bed. I walked out and I said, okay, so what do I do now? And they're like, oh, there's nothing to do now. This is quiet time. And so for my first 2 hours there, I'm just in the room. And so I'm wide awake. And now I'm scared to death. So so I start planning, the phone calls that I need to make. I come out and they tell me that I will see a doctor tomorrow. And I said,
sure,
so wait, I have to stay here tonight at least? And they're like, oh yeah. And you'll see the doctor tomorrow. So I'm freaking out. So I'm allowed phone access. But it is stated on the wall that your calls are going to be monitored. I don't know how much of the call they can hear, if they can only hear my side or if they can hear both sides. But I'll just assume both sides. But here in Florida, it is a two-party consent state, so they probably only have my side. So I call my family and I tell them where I'm at. I leave a message for my wife. I say, I'm in the fucking nut house. Get me out of here. And then we just wait. Now, they tell me when I'm coming in, there's a room for men, there's a room for women. But there is a group coming in, so they're having a group session in one room, so we have to go into that we're going to share the room with the ladies. So already things are looking okay. And I will tell you, there were a couple of kooky cuties in there, Peas. They don't make them like that anymore. Goodness gracious.
No, they do.
Wow.
That fucking model.
Wow.
That model comes out every generation, dude. Trust me.
Yeah, I get a refill, please. We're drinking the Clicquot tonight. We're drinking the good stuff. Praise Bob.
That's interesting.
So we're watching. So I've made the realization that I'm in the nut house, and I'm coming to terms with that. And then I make the realization that I'm also watching Guy Fieri and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and it's a marathon
for 3 hours. That's how it is.
And we run through that. And while we're in there, that's where my roommate says, "This is bullshit." And he goes and gets the remote, and he just comes in. He gets the remote, or he gets the phone. I think he kept grabbing the phone, thinking it was the remote. But they had They had two cordless phones, and people just walk around with them. So he comes in there with the remote or something, the equivalent. And the lady in the back goes, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm going to change it. This is bullshit. Are you watching this?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm watching this." And then he goes around the room. "Are you watching this? Are you watching this? This is bullshit. You don't cook. You want to pretend you're a cook? You don't cook for your husband. I'm going to have you killed. You're going to go outside one day. I'm going to call my wife. They're going to fucking find you. They're going to fucking kill you, you fucking bitch." And then he just walks out of the room. And nothing's
back to you guys.
And then I'm like, and that's my roommate. That's my roommate.
That's your roommate. I'm gonna say it's going back to chill in your room.
Well, no, you can't go back to the room. You can't go back to the room. You can only be in the room at certain times. So,
no, I get that. So, hey, let me ask you something. Did you tell him when he asked you, did you say, "Oh, no, I'm not watching this"?
I just shrugged. Like, whatever. I just shrugged. I didn't know what to do. Yeah. He just told this person that he's going to fucking kill him. He's screaming.
Yeah. That was your clue to tell him, "Yeah, we should change this channel. This sucks."
Well, I didn't have you there, Peas, to whisper sweet hints into my ear.
Well, I'm outraged, to be honest with you, for a couple of reasons, but I've seen this happen thousands of times.
Well, I stay overnight, and my roommate snores like a fucking Popeye cartoon. He gets up a few times, and a little more Bluto. A little more Bluto than Popeye or Pappy. Yeah, like that. And I'm making phone calls. I'm asking for help. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to do what I can. But we get dinner, and around dinner time, we're all we had. They open the men's room back up, and so I leave the women's room voluntarily. I'm like, I'm going to restore sanctity to the women's room. They're like, "Well, you don't have to," and I'm like, I'm gonna go in here. And I go sit by myself in there, and they turn the TV back on, and they play G.I. Jane. And so,
sexy.
Yeah. So I got to watch G.I. Jane pretty much by myself in the room, and that was it. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just alone. There's nothing to do. So later, I asked, can I get some crayons? Because they've already told me there's no pens and there's no pencils. So I saw a guy with one crayon earlier, so I asked, "Can I get some crayons and some paper?" They give me 3 broken crayons and a couple pieces of computer paper. And they say,
Right.
yeah, all the craft stuff goes at like 5 p.m.
Lucky.
So there's nothing. I said, is there like a deck of cards? They're like, no. Any books? No. Any magazines? No. You got a Gideon's Guide?
70?
You got a Gideon's Guide? No. So all I can do is just sit here and watch this TV. And I can't talk to a doctor until tomorrow because they've already done their rounds for the day. And I was brought in after rounds. That seems really fair. And so I
That
have
did
to
not help your case. Did.
Yeah, so I make it through the first evening, and that's Friday night. And I find out the next morning that my 72 hours will not include the time the 11 to 12 hours. The 11 to 12 hours they spent in the holding cell will not count. When I check in at like 2 p.m. on Friday is going to start that.
Starts when you're admitted.
I meet with the psychologist the next morning, and while they have
Psychiatrist.
I have a couple
Had
of
to be
notes,
a psychiatrist.
My psychiatrist, once again, English is not their first language. It is obvious.
Indian?
Yes.
Okay, how'd I know?
And she runs through the list. And, they find a couple of things in my system. They find a little THC, and I said, sure, yeah. It was New Year's Eve.
I like beer, Senator. Do you like beer? I like beer.
But then they also found benzos or something in my... I can't remember exactly what they found, but they found pills in my system. And I was like, well, I don't... Well, hold on, slow down. I'll admit to that, but I won't admit to this. I don't take pills. I said, unless that was the drug cocktail they gave me at the hospital. And she goes, what drug cocktail? And I said, from the hospital. I was put on a bunch of painkillers when I was brought in. And she didn't seem to have that. And she says that while I was in the hospital, I was hallucinating and claimed that I was hearing voices. And that I said I wanted to kill myself. And I said, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. And I expressed that I talked to 2 other people, one of them through a telephone on a Skype robot, who I couldn't really understand, and then another person I really couldn't understand. And so now, and she doesn't understand where I'm coming from. But I tell them I'm not a threat to myself. So they dropped the Baker's Act in that meeting. So at this point, I am no longer required to be held for the 72 hours. But I can't leave. I say, well, I'm off the Baker's Act. Can I have like a next of kin come and sign me out? And they say no. I said, well, my dad's already been here. He could vouch for me, and he knows I'm not going to do anything. He can take me home. No. Because we're going to prescribe you a medication, and we need to observe you overnight to make sure you're okay in the morning. I said, but am I here voluntarily now? And they're like, not yet. We're still holding you, but we're lifting the Baker's Act. So they bring me some paper later, and a nurse comes, and this is, I can't remember her name right now, but this lady becomes like one of my heroes. Before that, I finally make it to the counselor. And this guy, he's got his mask on, he's got his COVID mask on, and it's a Skyrim mask. It's a themed mask. And I immediately say, I've got somebody. Okay, now I've got somebody. He's a nerdy white guy, and he speaks English. And I go in there and I tell him exactly what I've told you up to this point. I said this, I said that, I didn't say this, I didn't say that. I've got a family, I've got something to live for. Yes, I'm having depressing thoughts, but I've actively said that's what I'm trying to seek help for. And now I'm being held from my child. At this point, my wife and my kid are up at the front. They're up at the front, and she's bringing me clothes to wear. Because I have nothing. I'm still in the paper underwear from Friday morning, and this is Saturday afternoon. And he says, I can tell that keeping you here is not going to do you any good. I do not believe that you are a threat to yourself, and I believe what you're saying. There are things that we have to go through that are policy, but I will advocate for you to the psychiatrist that you do not need to be here, and I will get you out as quickly as possible. I promise you. I will get you out tomorrow. And I said, thank you. Thank you. And I still make phone calls, and I get a call from a family member. Now, this family member has claimed that they've spoken to the only attorney in town that takes care of this. And they explain that the hospital gets $5,000 a day while I'm there, and that they're using me to fill that bed and make that money. And if I sign to stay there voluntarily, they can keep me for up to 6 months. And to get a writ started will be $8,000. This is the last thing I want to hear while I'm locked in the nut house. You know, they're trying to be real with me, but they're telling me the worst possible thing that I could imagine at this point. And so I go. And then the nurse comes. And, okay, so this is hero number 2. And she has the form that says you're going to be here voluntarily. And I said, well, I think I need to make a phone call before I do anything. She kind of works her eyes. Oh, you can do that. That's fine. What's up? I mean, I'm like, she's like, don't you want to go? I'm like, well, yeah, I want to go. But if I sign this, can't you keep me here? Because I'm saying I want to be here and you'll declare that. She says, once you claim that you're here and that you're competent in saying that you're here, you can sign this other form saying that you want to go. And the doctor has 24 hours to respond. So if I sign this, can I go? You're not going to be able to go immediately unless the doctor says so. And I said, well, the doctor lifted my Baker's Act. And somebody else, the counselor, says that I don't need to be here. And I've got family members willing to vouch for me that I don't need to be here. They say, if you want to get started, you got to sign this. You sign this, it says right here, and she points to it, I want to go. So I said, fuck it. And I just sign it. I ignore all advice that was given to me, and I go for it. She's like, all right, I'll get on it. And the night continues. And now more people are coming in. It is now Saturday. It's Saturday evening. And I would say another 6 to 7 people have come into the facility. Maybe more. And the thought of, you know, they're keeping me here because they need to fill a bed. Well, I had to wait in the hospital for 12 hours to get a bed. And a guy I saw when I was coming in, he wasn't there anymore. And I made the connection that
was all,
they weren't
that's all bullshit.
They weren't hurting to keep people in beds. There were enough fucking crazy people to come in. And this is when the cast starts getting more colorful. So up to this point, everybody's really been chill. And there's one catatonic guy. And he's been walking around, but he's minding his own business. He's not bothering anybody. He's not taking anything from him. And I feel for him. I feel really sad for this guy. And then there's my roommate who now it's starting to appear that he's homeless. And he's staying here because this is better than a Motel 6. The food, we're getting food all the time. There's 3 meals a day plus snacks. And occasionally there's decaf coffee. And so you're not going to go hungry. They're going to load you down with food. But I can't go. And now more people are coming in. One guy comes in and he's pissed off all to hell. He doesn't want to be there. He knows which psych ward he wants to be in. And he's cold, and he doesn't want to be around anybody. He's got his mask on. He says, I've got COVID fever, man. I'm real scared of that shit. Just keep me away from people. And he ends up going into the women's recreational room, TV room, and sitting in the window, and they have to drag him out of that. And starts claiming abuse for the rest of the stay that he's there. And then they bring in the other guy that looks like it already looks like he's been lobotomized. He is covered in scars. I don't know if, and they look like injuries. It's not like just your regular like meth scars or anything. These are injuries that he has sustained, primarily to the right side of his body, and he can only stand there and he doesn't know what's going on. Enough. And then we get a guy that looks like Joe Rogan who comes in. Looks and sounds like Joe Rogan. And they decide, and because it's Saturday night, they put on football. So the room is full of people. And by dinner time, there is a ring of them all around me. I told them I didn't know a thing about football. And so I would ask them questions about what is this, and they would explain football to me. And that's when I noticed that by, the mid-evening snack that I had 4 or 5 of them hanging out with me. And I would crack jokes, and we would make, but we were calling bullshit. And I heard a nurse in the station say this Baker's Act shit is bullshit. So even they know what's going on. But I am King Kook, and I've got this ring of fucking people around me, and it's just whatever I want to talk about or whatever I want to do, so they just entertain me. And I tried not to be too subgeniusy, but you try and joke with people. And there's people in there who obviously are in the same situation that I am. They were on something, they weren't in the right frame of mind, and one guy says, I was drunk, and I said I was going to kill somebody while I was drunk. Now I'm here. So he's there. He says, I know what I did. I didn't mean it. I know I was drunk, and I wouldn't do it. But I'm here. But he's on the Baker's Act like I am. He's not in jail. And so, and I wouldn't ask, people would ask each other, what are you in for? And I wouldn't ask that to anybody. And we all just kind of minded our own business. And they could tell that I was the sane one. Me, of all people. And so it was obvious that they were trying to build their rep by hanging out next to Dr. Fox.
Well, that's how you knew you were in the psych ward, because they all, they
thought I was like fucking hilarious. That was the best audience I ever had. Was in there.
No, it's captive.
But we were sitting there, audience. And there's the guy that's gotten beat up. We'll just call him Road Rash. And we're having snack time. So Joe Rogan's eating his pudding and graham crackers. And Road Rash kind of smiles and stumbles over and picks up his graham crackers. And Joe Rogan says, "Hey man, that's mine. Put that down." And Road Rash just kind of holds the graham crackers and stares at him. And Joe Rogan goes, "You motherfucker, that's mine. Give it back. This COVID bullshit, I don't know what you've got." The nurse comes in and says, "Road Rash, you need to give him his graham cracker. We'll get you your own graham crackers, Road Rash. You can't take other people's food." And Joe Rogan says, "Give it back, you fucking asshole. Make him give it back." In Road Rash, the nurse takes the graham crackers out and says, we'll get you your own snacks. Do you want a snack? And Joe Rogan goes, this guy, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He ought to be locked up in a psych ward. And the nurse, without a fucking beat, turns around and says, he is locked in a psych ward. And I immediately turned to the guy to my left and I said, you know what, 3 days locked in here, that is completely fucking worth it. That is completely fucking worth it for that right there. And I genuinely felt that. But the night continues and there's nothing to do. We go through quiet time. I had figured out at this point, wake up early, stay up as much as you can, and try to sleep during quiet time. That's the trick. And then come back out, and you can stay out and watch TV till 10. But I'm waiting. I get dinner, and the staff change comes through, and the nurse that helped me with the paperwork earlier is now doing the medications. And I shouldn't be too specific with this. But we get to talking. And we just, kind of just shoot the shit for a little bit. But I'm like, I want to get the fuck out of here. And this seems incredibly unfair. Is there nothing to do? And she tells me that, they want to take people outside. They don't have the staff to take people outside. Everything that would be normally open up, like any additional areas are closed because of COVID, and they're doing restrictions. And so that's adding extra pressure and extra testing on everybody. I got a COVID test on my way in. They swabbed my brain and probably took a little bit out with it. And she's reeling with me, real timing with me, and letting me know. And I say, I feel kind of bad that I know I'm gonna leave, but I kind of don't want to because I feel so bad for these people. There are people that need to be here. So is there anything I can do? Can you volunteer? She's not with HIPAA laws. You can never get a volunteer in here. I said, do I need to write a letter? And she's like, that's what's going to get something fucking done. We need people on the outside. There was not a deck of playing cards. There was not a coloring book. There was no reading material, even religious reading material. The only Bibles I saw there were brought in by people staying there. And I would have loved to have read a Bible while I was in there. But there was nothing. You did have phone access, but we were confined to basically something the size of a salesman's office at a car dealership. Flipping through TV channels for days. Sunday morning comes. I talk to the psychiatrist again, and I'm like, I'm ready to go home. They said I need to go home. She's asking me, are you still having these thoughts? And I reiterated, I haven't been having those I've said before that I don't want to do this, but I'm dealing with these issues. And it's incredibly frustrating because I feel like there has been a heavy series of miscommunications here. And I said things while I was in drugs in the hospital. And she asked me, well, who called the police? And that blew my mind because nobody called the police. And I exclaimed as calmly as I could, nobody called the police. The doctor that I could barely understand talking to me on the robot is the one that did all of this. The guy that I could barely understand on multiple levels through a very heavy accent and through a terribly inconvenient communication device, on top of the fact that I'm sleep deprived, I'm in pain, and I'm on drugs that they gave me. And the records that she's got aren't even matching. She doesn't understand that the Valium that I took was given to me in the ER. And it is just repeatedly over and over and over again. And this is 11 o'clock. It's already past 24 hours when I'm supposed to get my response. And everybody's like, are you going home today? Are you going home today? And I'm like, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. One guy came by and asked me, how long you been here? I said, too fucking long. I'm ready to go. And I'm asking questions. I'm like, and they're telling me when the doctor says I'm clear, now a social worker has to call my home and make sure that it's safe for me to come home. And it's Sunday.
What is it, Scientology? You got to be clear?
You got to clear. You got to OT8 to do it, man. Step by step by step. And there's people there are medical professionals there that agree that I don't need to be there. And there is no ability for my family to just say, we'll take care of him. Are you all right? Is this choking you up? So I want everybody to know I am home. I have been given a prescription, which I was cool with. I told him at the beginning, I am fine. I would like to find some sort of psychiatric care. I would like to speak to a therapist. But through all of this, everything I said was voluntary, and at no time did I ever actually say I wanted to hurt myself. And any time I did or even went close to that, it was grossly misinterpreted, and I didn't have a representative with me. Nobody talked to my wife about this. Nobody made a call home. These are all decisions that were streamlined through a very bizarre bureaucracy. And so it makes me feel painful. I feel hurt. I've heard crazy people before tell everybody how crazy they are and all the crazy shit that they've done. But they know not to tell anybody at the hospital or the police anything remotely to that. They've figured that out. There are people out there that need help, and because of this situation, because of how you're treated, you're just lumped in. You're just lumped in. And I'm in a room with, people that are absolutely, they could be a threat to others. And they're like, don't worry, you'll be okay. It was scary. It was the most frightening time of my life. There were times, the longer I stayed there, the more I thought I wasn't going to get out. And I just kept telling myself, don't think. Don't think. And I wasn't thinking at one point when I was wearing my robe like I would a lab coat. I had taken a sleeve off and was wearing it like a lounge jacket. Getting a little Jack Nicholson there. And somebody brings a tray of food out around and says, Doctor, I have your lunch. And I swing around on my fucking foot and my jacket swishes like a cape. And without a hitch, I say, I'm a doctor. Which, admittedly, is not something that you should say if you're not a doctor and locked in a psych ward. But I will tell you that every one of those crazy motherfuckers in the room fucking smiled. And they fucking loved that. And when they saw that I was getting escorted out, they were getting up and coming out. I will tell you this on the way out. Up to this point, the most I had heard is just this guy being an asshole. But finally, on the way out, a guy comes in. He's been there for a day. He looks a little beat up. He looks a little bit haggard. He's got a lip tattoo on his neck. But he's throwing a fit. my wife and my kid, because we don't have anybody to watch our kid because it's fucking COVID, are up at the front to come pick me up. And now we're being locked down. And we've got one guy who's already on the phone going back and forth. He's telling me that he's glad I'm here. He tells him over the phone, I got a guy here, he's lucid. He'll be a witness. And he's been talking about all this abuse that he's been going through, and he's on the phone with somebody. He's like, you got to get down here now, and I got somebody who will talk, you know, and he's patting me on the back. I'm glad you're here. And I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And everybody's just fucking locked into the room, and we're in there, and the guy is just fucking, I want out of here. I want fucking out of here. You're not a doctor. You call yourself a doctor. You're a disgrace to doctors. And he makes a very interesting argument. And this is a guy that's speaking with a heavy Spanish, Hispanic, Latino accent. But I can understand him. It's not my fault you don't speak English. I've been locked up 7 days. They say you've only been here a day. He says, I've been locked up for 6 days before this, and they transfer me here. And I say, it's not like this is going to make things any better for him. And I'm telling people, you need to sit down. You need to shut up. And fucking Sonny, who's running around, you know, I tell Sonny, sit down. And Joe Rogan says, hey, can we get NFL on in here? And I said, Joe Rogan, let them catch the crazy guy before you ask them for the TV remote. He goes, you know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And he sits right the fuck back down. God bless him. But he is rattling his fucking fingers. He's ready for pregame. And then they pull the guy aside. And even though the social worker was not there, the doctor made the call to my wife. The nurse told me to call my wife and say I could come pick me up. And I got out at around 2 p.m. on Sunday. So it was basically 1 a.m. Friday morning to 2 p.m. Sunday was this whole ordeal. And
you're lucky.
It's I'm glad I wasn't in there longer. But that is the state of things. You know, I understand that there is a protocol there. There's a protocol there that was voted on because they want to protect people. And there is a system there that it's kind of hard to argue with. It's good that there is a system there to catch that. There are people that need that. But if you can convince more than one person that you're not a threat to yourself and your family is willing to come and get you, even when you tell them what you're in for, you should be able to go home. You should be able to go home.
Well,
and if you're gonna be there, they at least need to give you something to fucking do. How was that supposed to make me not want to kill myself? It makes me not want to seek additional therapy. That's what it does. It makes me fear that I'm going to say the wrong thing and that I won't go in. Now, I want to see a psychiatrist. I do want to see somebody, and I want to get here. But now it's put in my mind that I'm scared to tell the whole story unless I really, really don't think about it and make sure that they get the whole picture.
So listen, I want to listen very carefully to your story, and I want to relay some information to the listeners, because I think a lot of us could find ourselves in a similar situation. And the first thing I would say about your story is we have a tendency. I'm already here at the ER. You know, they already treated me for this thing, and I have been feeling a little bit blue. I have been dealing with this. This is not the time to bring that shit up.
Sure.
Okay. Because, well, I know it's hindsight's 2020, but what will happen is if somebody does listen to you, they are going to look for three factors, and that's what their job is in the ER. And there are also many times in the ER there are resident doctor, which is, you call them doctors, but many times they're ER doctors are the shittiest doctors. Many times they're not really doctors. They're in their third year of medical school. But regardless of all that, I'm not going to get into that. I speak from experience in this. They're looking for three things, and these are the questions that they answer in their minds. Are you a danger to yourself or others? Are you hearing voices and acting on what the voices tell you? Are you able to provide for your daily activities of daily living, which is the least important one in their mind? So all the first two questions are kind of really broad. The second one's not so much. When somebody's hallucinating or delusional, it's kind of evident. But the first one, which is the first question, which is, are you a danger to yourself or others? It's a very vague question because everyone has thoughts of self-harm. And to say that you don't is, you're not really being honest with yourself. Now, you may not have a plan and you may not have an action, but there are times I went through my 40s not really being suicidal, but if a bus had come up off the curb and killed me dead, I would not have given a shit about that. Okay?
Well, yeah,
And I didn't like feeling like that. And I didn't like feeling like that, but the problem is, if I'd have said that in the ER, they would have done what happened to you, which is they'll put you on a 72-hour hold. Now, states call it different things, but all states work basically the same.
Yeah.
There's a thing called the Baker Act or a 72-hour hold. And when they put you on that hold, it means you've lost all your rights as a human being.
And an
you are at
American.
the whim of a psychiatrist. Now, the good thing about this is it does save people's lives. But in certain states like Florida, and I'm very familiar with Florida because I've had some experience with the Baker Act. So the Baker Act is utilized a lot of times anytime a police officer or some kind of first responder, ER person really doesn't know what to do or to make of a situation. So rather than err on the side of maybe getting in trouble because somebody they let go died or something like that, they commit them to the Baker Act, which is a 72-hour hold.
Sure.
And what it means
Sure.
is you're supposed to go to a psychiatric facility and get evaluated by a psychiatrist, get an intake by a mental health professional, which is what I used to do, adjust to the milieu of the unit. That I was most shocked about is most units have a couple of Uno decks, some fucking playing cards. Cribbage was a big deal. Spades was a big deal. That there was nothing on this unit is kind of it's discouraging to me. I'm surprised that such a basic aspect of mental health care wasn't addressed there. And I don't know the specifics of how this holding thing. Well, the family member that called you up and told you if you signed in there to be voluntarily that they could keep you for 6 months, and that person did you a great disservice because not only was that information wrong, that information just exasperated your anxiety. And if you had been more fragile, that might have put you in a position for them to justify our hold because you were freaking out because somebody told you some bullshit information. Now, what happens after a 72-hour hold is you don't get to go, but they go to the court and they say, yeah, we had this guy talk to a psychiatrist and we think he's batshit crazy. So we'd like to keep him for another 14 days while we evaluate and try and diagnose what we can do. And the trick is, and what you did instinctively that was very good, I've intaked 12 million people that didn't need to be there. They got drunk, they did some drugs, they said the wrong thing to the wrong person who misinterpreted it, and they got thrown on these 72-hour holds. You did the exact right thing, which is be as sane as you can possibly be as rational as you can possibly be, and at the same time tell them, I didn't say that, this is what I meant. That's a common experience in humankind. I just, because I was at the hospital to talk to a psychologist about maybe getting some antidepressants or something. I did not expect you to lock me up. You were very, very fortunate to get out on a Sunday. Many times the doctors want to get to that first hearing and just to have it in the books. But you survived in that place, much like I did when I was a psychiatric
I'll
technician.
admit,
If
yeah,
you're funny, and
I was, yeah, I did a lot of this, you know, if not all of it. But that's what it comes down to, is I feel afraid to share with another therapist.
and that's the tragedy of trying to get treatment at an emergency room. You can get, and I've seen this happen 100. It's what happens when the cops actually interact with somebody with mental illness on the street. If it goes really well, they get this Baker Act. As poorly, they wind up in the morgue. So the thing about it is that I knew from the minute you'd got caught in this net, because I've been on the other side of this. I'm discouraged that mental health changed so much. Active practitioner, that they don't have some kind of recreational thing. I mean, we had a whole closet. There's fucking, I mean, from the catatonic guy to the Joe fucking Rogan guy, there should have been something there to keep that fucker occupied, or somebody to engage him a little bit. That you had to go through all this shit is a fucking nightmare. But on the same token, I can only tell you, you played it perfectly, or you'd still fucking be there till this afternoon. So kudos to you. One of the ways that I would keep from getting beat up on the unit and having to take people down is I did the same things that you talked about. I had a group of the patients around me that thought Frank was funny. They knew Frank would be honest for them. He'd advocate for them. Even if they were crazy, I'd advocate for them in regards to their treatment and whatnot. And I know from the patient standpoint, there was many a guy that came in on a 72-hour hold, and I would just tell him, hey, dude, the easiest way to get out of here, I hope somebody told you this, keep your head down, sign the papers, go to these meetings, tell them your story. Eventually, it will work out. Even if you have to go in front of the judge and say it, because you're not crazy. And I've told so many people that, because they're feeling, they're scared, they're frightened. And the thing about it is, in a mental health unit, you get people that are depressed, you get people that aren't supposed to be there, just like you. They were drunk or were under the influence or something like that. And sometimes you get really dangerous, fucking psychotic,
Absolutely.
fucking murderer,
Absolutely.
fuckers, and you're in there with them, hoping that a guy like me is going to keep I from killing you. So my hat goes off to you that you kept your wits about you, that you got out of there. It's a frightening thing to go through. I can't believe that my friend and compadre had to go through it, but I do tell you from my own experience on the other side, I think you handled it perfectly. You got out early because of it. And I preface this whole statement with, please, people, listeners, if you're suicidal, please go to the ER. Please get some kind of help.
Absolutely. And I told them that. If I ever feel like I'm going to do something, I'll come back here. I will go to the ER because I know that I'll be safe. It was a frightening experience.
But if you're just at the...
But don't say anything until you're ready to go.
About you're depressed and shit like that. That's not the time. With the thing to say to them at that time, you know what I would really like?
Is there a referral
you can give me to speak to someone when I'm back thing? And then this might have gone by. But this is the same kind of thing when people, and this is the other thing, folks, listeners, if you have a family member that's having a mental health crisis, please try not to call the police. You're better to call the ambulance or a hospital themselves, because the police do not know how to handle these situations, and you will more than likely cause a more terrible crisis. having a mental health crisis.
You're breaking up, Peas.
Now, I don't know what to tell you on that, but it's.
Well, Peas, can you hear
You did a
me?
good job, Fox. You got yourself out, and I just want to recommend to people.
Peas, can you hear me?
I'm not hearing you at all.
How about now? Can you get me? Hello?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so here's what we'll do.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go to a song break. I'll message Peas. We're gonna come back. We're gonna wrap up time for the show tonight. We'll be right back. You're listening to Time for the Show on freethinkradio.com.
The Great Gates of Dobbstown. Not unlike the Great Gates of Kiev, but not with a piano.
Talking.
Bring out your head. Bring out your head. Bring out your head. Bring out your head. Welcome to Dobbstown, where yes, you are weird, just like us. Pony on down, or horse on down, or cow on down, or goat on down, or bear on down, bear down, bear down, bear down to the Cascade. Get yourself a cup of mutant tea. Yes, have a mutant tea. Ring out your head. Ring out your head. Grab an ear in each hand and twist. So you can do it. You're loud. You're very loud. Ring it out. 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 Riding it. Riding it. Riding it. Riding it. Riding it. Riding it.
You're listening to Time for the Show, broadcasting live on freethinkradio.com and youtube.com/freethinkradio. This show is made entirely by the generous contributions of the Hypercube Foundation, as well as contributions by our grateful Patreons, including Caller23, Dr. Cosmac, Michael Marcus, Reverend Couchsloth, Dr. Trenchy, Scalpod, Apostle X Fenord, Brother Other, Hazel of the Windmills, Agent Lloyd, Martha Artha, Dr. Ellis of Freethink Radio, Negative at Night, Long Dead, Reverend 80, and I'm a Subgenius, and Reverend Loch Ness. These are the people that are currently donating at patreon.com/hypercube. I will tell you right now that this entire endeavor has cost us a lot of money. My wife did not go to work. Aster 6 did not go to work to stay home with our child for 3 days worth of work. And we have, not only do we have bills to pay, but we have the fee for the satellite unit, which thankfully, thanks to some business coming in, we're just about breaking out. But if you'd like to help independent farce and true mutant art that we call ERT, please go to patreon.com/hypercube or go to paypal.me/DocFox. or send a monetary contribution to Hypercube Labs, P.O. Box 4304, Winter Park, Florida 32793. I agree with Pease from earlier. If you are feeling suicidal, if you want to hurt yourself, if you're scared of hurting yourself, you need to seek out help. I understand that the story that I've told tonight is frightening, but these things were created because people were concerned. The system is not great, and I am not happy about how this went. Checking the chat here, Scalpot says, this is not how 2021 was supposed to go. I'm so thankful you're safe and home with your family. Hazel of the Windmills says, yeah, wow, holy shit, Fox, I'm sorry this happened, and I'm glad you got through it. It all started with a sneeze. And Elvis Martini is telling me that I'm not funny. So, I'd like to thank everybody that did help me through this. My wife especially. She answered the phone and would talk me through it, and we would reassure each other that everything would be okay. I know she called Pease, and I thank Pease for talking to her, even if just for a brief moment. I appreciate that. You are a very good friend. I will tell all of you right now, as much as I was thinking about all of you. If I broke through, don't think, you guys are who I was thinking about. And I will tell you right now, there was nobody else that I was missing more than Fid Chuli. And we haven't talked since really the big makeup gay kiss episode of Time for the Show last year. And he's a special individual to me. I really do care about Fid a lot. I am totally gay for Fid. He is the smartest and funniest person I have ever met. And I thought about all the goofy shit that we did together and would talk about. And if Fid had been there with me, if Fid had been locked in the nut house with me,
you would have never left.
I never would have left. Are you kidding?
You would have kept fucking with him for
three meals a day. If we could have ended up being roommates, I would stay there.
No, because he wouldn't have been able to have cigarettes. He wouldn't have been down.
He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. But if anybody has his number, please let Fid know that I sure do miss him. He was Fid Chuli was a big part of my life, and I really miss that guy, and I really miss having him live with me. And as much as I enjoy him having his own freedom, keeping him here as a slave was the best thing I ever had. I still love my wife, but god damn do I miss Fid Chuli.
No, he scratched my pizza pan. I'm mad about that. But he was a funny dude.
He did do some of the dumbest shit. For the smartest guy I've ever met, he did some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
But he was funny.
He was fucking funny.
He was real fucking funny.
I miss you, Fid. We're running through vaccinations. Come stay up at Hypercube for a weekend. Please. I'd love to see you. Thank you again, Pease. I really appreciate you sticking
can you hear
through me. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry. I was kind of just rambling. You are back. Thank you again.
No.
Yeah, thank you, Pease. I really appreciate it because I was dealing with some paranoia.
Well, here's the thing, guys. I want the rest of our just I've said a lot of things. Try to be cautious if you're in the ER. Try to make sure you don't fall into the system. But on the token, don't. You can call the National Alliance on Mental Illness (NAMI) helpline at 1-800-950-6264, and they'll help you get real help if you need it. We want to make sure that everyone understands that this was kind of an atrocity what happened to Fox, but it can happen to somebody in a real situation where they really want some help, and rather than get trapped in this situation where you're forced into it and really it wasn't what you were looking for, if you do need someone to talk to, clients on mental health illness, and they will help you find the treatment and
Talk
the
to
things that
me.
you need to get yourself
You know,
squared away.
if you're
Is
on
it great?
if you're on Discord or Facebook or Twitter, talk to me. I see people on Twitter talking about shit like this, and I follow them and I reach out to them and make sure that they're okay. They don't know who the fuck I am, but I genuinely care about almost every human being on this planet. And you know, we talked about, I will tell you this shit that happened at the Capitol was that was dragging me down. That was dragging me down. And I love this country. I really do. I realize how grateful I am to be an American. And we might not agree on everything, guys. And everyone has a right to say what they believe. Everyone. But just like you're seeing now, as I've done for a while, I've said, yeah, and my wife said earlier, let them hang them by their own rope. You know, I grew up in a town where the Klan was in the parade. Okay? I grew up in a town where a guy believed he was the reincarnation of Robert E. Lee and sold racist paraphernalia out of a surplus store openly. Animosity was real. But you don't have to listen to them, and you don't have to entertain that thought. Eventually they will get what's coming. Eventually they will get, and you're getting to see that now, as they're getting dragged off of fucking airplanes, because they're terrorists. Because they're fucking terrorists. And you're hurting what is making this country so great, and that is the democracy and the freedoms that we have. And after having my freedom stripped away from me for even a matter of hours, I realize how great it is to be where I am, because there are places on the planet where I would be locked up in the same situation just for saying stuff that I've said on this show before. You know, we should be very grateful. And that did not help me while I was in there, to see fucking assholes tearing down our establishment. It's more than a fucking shame. It's more than a shame. I can't even describe it. And I'll joke about it, and I'll say eccentric and sarcastic things about it. But if you did that, fuck you. Fuck you. And it's people that are doing that are on the side of people that want to continue to strip funding for mental health. And the state of mental health, rehabilitation, and safety is in shambles. We can do better. We can do so much better. And that is not the way to get things done. You're pretending like you're a revolutionary patriot when you're just a fucking dupe. You're just a fucking dupe. And you make me sick. You make me fucking sick. I was throwing up in a psych ward because of how sick those people made me. I agree with you with everything you said in the early part of the show, P. I agree with everything you said about it. It was fucking disgusting.
Here's the thing for tonight, kids. There'll be no apologies for tonight's show, because for tonight, we make no apologies. This is our show. We enjoyed bringing it to you. We hope it was poignant. We hope you learned something. And remember, we all love you. And we hope that you love us too.
You better love us, god damn it. You've been listening to Time for the Show, a production of Hypercube Labs. Find out more at hypercubego.com. Thank you, Peas, for going long with us tonight, long and deep. You're an American hero.
I'll kill you.
He's a veteran. We're gonna Baker Act Peas. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Good night, Peas. Stay tuned for Dr. Fox's Chopping Block. You're listening to freethinkradio.com. Yeah, I'm still going, man. I got so much more. At least like 15 minutes.
Dr. Fox. But the program is controversial.
Chopping Block.